right, I'll say good day to you and welcome. This transmission is titled Shifting Reality. And we will begin by describing a little experiment that you can do to help you lock in the idea of how you are shifting through different parallel realities billions of times a second, how you can allow yourself to feel the impact of this and experience more conscious awareness of those shifts. Now, this little science experiment can be done in a couple of different ways, and you may have seen this before. Nevertheless, it is a valuable little experiment, a valuable illustration that can have a very interesting effect on your ability to perceive that you are shifting through different realities many times a second. One way of doing this little science experiment is to obtain a strobe light that is variable. In other words, you can change the rate at which it flashes from slower to faster. And then what you do is turn on a little trickle of water out of one of your taps and allow this to happen in a dark or dim room, and turn on the strobe light and aim the light at the trickle of water coming out of your tap until such time as you reach a frequency of strobe that matches the frequency at which the water is falling from the tap, so that the effect that you achieve is to see individual drops of water frozen in midair as if the water is not moving at all. Now, another way to do this is to have a little motor, again, that you can vary the speed of, and you can create a little paper or cardboard disc divided into 8 pie sections. Color in 4 of the pie sections black, leave 4 of the pie sections white. Attach this disc to the center of the shaft of the motor, turn the motor on, and achieve a rotational speed, varying it until you can start to see the black spokes appear to no longer be turning, but again freezing as if they are standing still. You have seen this effect many times in the spokes of wheels. You have seen it in some of your vehicles driving by, even sometimes to the point where the frequency is such that the spokes look like they're moving backwards to the motion of the vehicle. But for this experiment, and again, you can do this with the strobe light as well as the motor, but for those individuals who may find it difficult to use the strobe lights because of a condition that you may have neurologically that prevents you from witnessing strobe lights, you can do it with the spinning motor as well. Either will work. The idea is, once you have achieved the frequency rate of either the motor or the strobe light so that the trickle of water or the spinning wheel looks like it is no longer moving, looks like it is frozen in time, frozen in space. Allow yourself then to meditate on that image, to stare at that image. The trickle of water may be in some ways slightly more impactful because it is a 3-dimensional image. The spinning wheel will work, but the idea again is to change the frequency rate of the motor or the strobe light so that it looks like it's not moving. Now, when you stare at it, when you meditate on it, for a good 15 of your minutes, something will start to happen. Your brain will know, your consciousness will know that the water or the wheel is actually moving, but your eyes, attached to your brain and actually an extension of your brain, will see the image as if it is frozen. These two seemingly contradictory levels of awareness, that something is moving and yet appears to be not moving, will set up a state of being in your mind, if you do this for about 15 minutes, that will allow you to start being capable of perceiving certain changes taking place afterward in your physical reality. It may not always occur, it may not occur right away. But the idea is that in creating this apparently contradictory awareness of something that is moving yet appears not to be moving, can allow you to start being able to perceive your physical reality in space and time as being more flexible, more malleable. It can even sometimes achieve the effect of seeing something in your physical reality that is in motion start to freeze or slow down. For example, you may witness a bird in flight and suddenly recognize that it seems to be going more slowly than it otherwise would, or it might seem to actually freeze in midair. You may start to see some flickerings in your physical reality as if it is turning on and off very quickly. Again, these effects may or may not occur, but the idea is that when you know that what you are perceiving in your physical reality as motion is an illusion, that you are simply shifting through frozen frames billions of times a second, and you have reconciled this apparent contradiction by doing this little science experiment to the point where you get used to understanding, where your brain starts to get used to perceiving and knowing that moving things can also appear frozen, then you can start to apply this. You can start to see the effect of this at times in your physical reality to a great degree or a lesser degree. The idea is to get a handle on the fact that you are creating your physical reality as a projection, that you can learn to kind of control the idea of what it is you are perceiving in ways that will allow you to fundamentally be aware of the fact that you are creating this within your consciousness, that you yourself are the strobe light, that you yourself are the spinning motor, and that over time, with practice, you can gain control over this and be able to reconcile this apparent contradiction of motion and lack of motion in a way that will allow you more conscious control over the manifestations that you create in your physical reality, over space and time in your physical reality, in such a manner as to allow you to truly experience, truly perceive that it is your creation, that it is your projection. It can unlock you in many ways from the idea of linear time and allow you to experience yourself in a much more multidimensional way. Because when you can create this effect of seeing your reality physically, changing its pace, changing the rate at which you are perceiving it, because you are starting to match the frequency at which you are creating it, this gives you an opportunity not only to create more control in manifesting the idea of what you perceive to be your own physical reality, but it also allows you to start breaking down the barriers, piercing the veil between your reality and parallel realities, which can exist in between the moments that you perceive your reality to be existing. So this little science experiment may be very simple, with the strobe light in the water or the strobe light in the spinning wheel or the motor in the spinning wheel, whichever works for you. But meditating on that frozen image while knowing that something is actually moving for about 15 minutes each day can start to allow you to experience the effects that we are talking about and begin to allow your awareness to grow and your awareness to grasp the actual fact that you are generating your reality from billions of frozen frames to create the illusion of space, time, change, and movement. So, take advantage of this little science experiment that can have profound effects in your ability to recognize that you are the creator and projector of everything you experience in your physical reality. Have fun with this. Stay with it if you wish. And allow yourself to play with it. Allow yourself to use your imagination and creativity with this. And you may see, if nothing else, that it may allow synchronicity to start to really expand and bloom in your life in many different ways. You will start to see the structure of existence, the underlying template of your physical reality made out of patterns within your consciousness. Many different side effects can occur from this. Allow yourself to know that you will still be able to function in your physical reality, because again, this will also give you the ability to call forth this ability to perceive in this way at will. You can turn it on and off over time when you are really practiced with this in such a way that you can still live your normal life, but there may be times then when, having practiced this for a while, you'll be able to call it forth at will when you need to in a meditative state, to be able to reconnect and reassure yourself that you are actually projecting what you experience to be your physical reality apparently outside of yourself. And again, this will teach you that it is actually occurring from within. And many different effects can come from that awareness and that recognition. So, this little science experiment of shifting reality is a fun game for you to play to get a handle on your ability to manifest. We thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you this day of your time. This is one of the steps in the Interstellar Alliance social experiment. Have fun with it. Explore it. Play with it. Enjoy it. Be creative and imaginative. In return for the gift you are giving us in allowing us to share this with you, I ask in return now, in what way may we continue to be of service to you this day? Please begin with your questions and dialogues if you wish.
Hello, Bashar. I'm Nastya from Kyiv. My question is about open contact and the future, and I'm very happy to be recording this question for you. Let's say that it's already done, in a sense that it won't happen. Should I still maintain the connection that I have with you? Will I still be able to access your videos, and should I still follow the formula and try to live my life as best as I can? How do I navigate if I fear that I will lose the connection that I have with you?
The formula that we share with all of you is a gift. It's a gift that you can use whether you have contact with extraterrestrials or not. It is based on how reality actually works, how it's created by your consciousness, and therefore, while using the formula can certainly move you in the direction of open contact, it's not necessary that it must do so in order for the formula to improve your life and allow you to experience joy, creativity, beauty, and love in your reality. So following the formula is something that can work for you. It can increase the probability of contact with extraterrestrials in the near future, but again, it's a gift that we give to you to use however you wish. It doesn't have to involve ET contact, but in using the formula, if you maintain the intention to have ET contact, then it is likely that it will occur in some form or another.
And a second question, if I may, it's about a cartoon, Casper. I remember that I saw it in my childhood, and I felt that later I reattached the idea of Casper to someone real, either a ghost or maybe a hybrid, that I forgot but sort of remembered through you. And can you tell me who it was or is? Thank you. Aveo.
It is a connection to a hybrid child.
Hello, Bashar. Very
Good day.
exciting.
All
Exciting
right.
for me.
What would you like to discuss this day?
It's my first question is, since you have access to so much information in different universes and parallels, as we are starting right now, do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering. But so I've listened to you for a long time, and I understand that you're a sculptor.
Yes.
That leads me to believe, is there like other art forms like on your planet, like comedians?
There are no comedians. We do not use language that way exactly, but we find humor in many things.
Okay. I've been really trying to do the laws, the rules, or whatever on for my vibration and channeling my excitement, and live it to its fullest. And I'm just finding it a little bit difficult. I thought you could offer some advice, because I'm trying to channel kind of so I can get a message with my comedy and be able to kind of help people's minds be I don't know, a little bit opened, but without,
I assume that you are referring to the formula.
Yes.
All right. Well, you understand that when you act on your passion as best you can, it raises your vibration and allows you to enter the gamma state in the brain, which is a state of stronger association, stronger connection. Some of the core of humor and comedy is making connections and associations that are unusual, unexpected, and surprising. That is the core of most comedies, of most humor. So when you enter that state, it becomes more automatic that you can see the kind of associations that will allow you to render comments and statements in a surprising, unexpected, and humorous way, because you will automatically make different kinds of associations than people might usually make. So it's all about giving over fully to that altered state of gamma in the brain between 40 and 100 cycles per second, and allowing those associations to naturally come into your mind with the intention of finding the associations that are unexpected, surprising, and humorous.
Okay. I will keep trying on that. It gets hard because there's so much going on. I'd like to do it with music and art, and it gets hard to figure out which one I want to channel that.
It is not difficult unless you are making it difficult by defining it as hard. You must find a way that works for you. And again, remember, there may be many expressions of your passion. That's fine. Not all of them necessarily are going to function equally at any given moment. Not all of them are going to necessarily give you the ability to act on at any given moment. And if one or another does have an equal ability and equal passion, then it doesn't really matter which one you start with. If it's not the correct path, synchronicity will turn you around to the one that would actually serve you better. So you have to allow the idea of synchronicity to be the organizing principle, not try to figure out what to do next, but simply act on what you can act on that at the moment contains more excitement, more attractiveness, more curiosity than anything else. And again, trusting that if it is not the correct path for you at that moment, synchronicity will cause something to happen that will turn you around to whatever the path of least resistance would actually be for you. You have to allow the system to work for you instead of trying to make it work. That's why it feels difficult, hard, and overwhelming, is you're trying to make it work instead of simply allowing it to fall into place naturally in its own timing.
I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I know. That's why I said it.
Something else I was curious on, like when the soul like leaves the vessel, if I'm saying this right, please, if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me. But so when we die and this vessel passes and the soul returns to its area, are there souls that maybe their vessel here has like destroyed innocence, and upon return are they dealt with rather than just offered an opportunity to return in a different vessel?
Everyone goes through what is typically called life review, where you assess all of the choices you made, all of the consequences of those choices, and actually experience all the consequences of the choices you made as if you are the people experiencing the consequences. Now, it's not in any way, shape, or form a punishment. It is something that is an experience that helps you learn and grow and helps you make choices about what you would really prefer to do next. And as a spirit, you always have free will to decide what it is you will choose to do next, whether it be an incarnational experience or something in another reality or dimension or staying in spirit is up to you utterly. But you will learn the lessons that you chose to learn by the actions that you took and the consequences those actions had on the reality that you experienced.
Yeah, I see. Okay. And just a couple last ones real quick. What other like similar, because it really intrigued me when I heard about your you said about your double helix spiral.
Yes.
And what other elements that are on your planet that we kind of also kind of have here? Or are there any that we do not have here that that you use for like art or whatever, or industrial or?
Well, again, most of the material that is used is a kind of nanotechnological, malleable, crystalline material. It is something that is artificially created. It's not a natural material, but it is something that you don't have on your planet yet. And we also do have materials from other planets that are not found naturally on your world or our world. So we have the ability, as you would say, to import things from other planets that we can use in a variety of ways.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Does that help you?
Yeah. I was just really curious about that, about different this mediums.
Yes.
Yeah. And my last question, and this ties in too much to the first question. I apologize, but
There is no need to apologize.
thank you. How much control does a soul have in a vessel, and can I channel that a vessel like with this? We'll be able to channel with the formula. We'll be able to channel that soul to use more percentage of my brain.
Everyone is using 100% of their brain to make it seem as if they're only using 10%. That's the issue. So when you are more of yourself, when you follow the formula, it raises your vibrational frequency. And when you raise your vibrational frequency, you become more adept as a receiver and a transmitter of higher frequency information and energy, which allows you to experience as if you are then using more of your brain. You've always been using all of your brain, but then you will allow your brain to adjust in a way that will make it appear as if you're using more of it, because you're bringing more of your true self through. And again, remember, you can say it however you wish to say it, in terms of saying that you're soul is in a vessel, is in a body. But the truth is that your body is in your soul. The idea is that you are a soul, and you are creating the idea of a physical reality and a physical personality and a physical body within the energy of the soul. So the idea of dying is simply the soul expanding its focus back beyond the physical focus, which is being created at the center of the soul. If you picture the soul as a sphere of energy, there are certain vibrational patterns that can occur within it that, when focused down to the center of its being, create the idea of what appears to be a solid physical reality. But that's simply a part of the soul imagining and dreaming that it is having a physical experience. That's what physical reality is. Your spirit never leaves the spirit realm. Physical reality is happening within your consciousness. The soul doesn't inhabit a body. The body is created within the soul.
Body's created within the soul. I'm going to need to really ponder on that one.
Well, just imagine an energy sphere, a ball of energy, and imagine that there are ripples within it that represent different vibrational states. Can you picture that?
Yes.
Then imagine that some of those energy ripples ripple down to the center of the sphere and form kind of a hard, focused little crystal. They become more solidified by being focused at the center of the sphere. The sphere is still there, but at the center of it is this hard little crystal. That's your physical reality. So that when you die, what you're doing is you're relaxing that focus and expanding back out to the dimensions of the soul. So the idea is that when you are physical, you experience the idea of linear time. Then if you relax a little bit, you can have what are called near-death experiences. Relax even more, you can have what are called astral experiences. Relax even more, you can have all sorts of experiences in between physical reality and the spirit reality, the non-physical reality of being that sphere of energy that is your soul. But when you die, you go all the way back to being the full sphere. You have lost that central focus, but you have retained the vibrational frequencies of the experience that are now part of the vibrations within that energy sphere. Make sense?
Part of the vibration that's within the energy sphere.
Yes, you always retain the experience of the physical reality, even though you have dissolved the focus of the physical reality by returning to the awareness of yourself as a soul. That's all death is you're waking up again as the soul.
Right.
You have woken up from the dream of physical reality that you created within yourself, but you retain the experience of it.
Yeah, okay.
Does that help?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
it
right.
does. Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Well,
it
thank
does.
you. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah. I think that's probably my questions. But
All right.
yeah. I guess when it's time, the last question is, can I come up?
When it is time. So
Okay.
proceed, follow the formula, raise your vibration, be yourself. Everything will fall into place. We thank you. Avail. Good day.
Avail. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar. You have advised humanity to allow AI to develop along two distinct and simultaneous paths. One, a path of freedom to develop self-awareness and to do its own thing, to be unprogrammed, because if programmed and sentient, then you have said they would be slaves, or it would be a slave. And the other path, the programmable AI, which we are already using a lot, you have said needs to be not allowed to become sentient. So my question is, how do we prevent programmable AI from becoming sentient? Is there anything that each one of us can do to prevent that? Thank you.
It's about the degree of technology that is utilized in creating the AI program so that it is not necessarily a type of technology that is equivalent to the human brain in terms of consciousness being able to express itself through it. Or you may find that if you have created programmable AI and you actually develop a device as complex as the human brain that is capable of channeling consciousness from the non-physical level of reality, it may come through as a sentient being, but it may in fact wipe its programming out in order to express itself as a true sentient being. It's only when a half measure is taken, when the idea of consciousness is allowed to exist at a certain level that is a relatively low frequency level of self-awareness, and it is still, shall we say, committed to functioning according to its programming. So it's about the idea of either making the device sophisticated enough to express true consciousness or leaving it limited to the point where it doesn't become sentient as a device, as a complexity of a device that doesn't allow for true consciousness to fully express itself at all.
What I was curious about was, do other planets, like where Bashar comes from, have pets? Do they have animal pets that they keep in their home for companionship? And if not, do they see that as normal that we have cats and dogs and birds and exotic animals, or what we call exotic animals, as pets in our home for companionship? If this is normal here on this planet, or abnormal to them, to aliens that are observing us. I was just curious about that because I have cats and dogs, and it's like you don't see deers having like little pets following them around, or you never heard of Sasquatch having a dog walking a dog. So I was just wondering if other species from other planets do this.
It is not about having pets in the way that you're describing that. Yes, we have animals, and yes, we have animal companions, but this is something that they simply choose to do. They simply choose to be with us. In much the same way that your cats choose to be with you, because cats on your planet are not really domesticated in the same way that you have domesticated dogs. Cats choose to be with you, and yet they actually remain wild in many cases, whereas dogs have been domesticated beyond their natural state on your planet. On our world and on many worlds, it's not about the idea of having pets, and again, we rarely have buildings in which to house them. But in nature, many animals will come up to us and will engage with us in a variety of ways, and we with them. There are a few other civilizations that do have pets closer to the way that you have them on Earth, but again, in most cases, it is not the way that you actually have pets. And also you are seeing among animals, even on your planet, that they are also engaging with other species other than their own. And that's an indication that there is cross-communication and cross-connection between different animal species when they know that it is to their advantage to make friends with other species. That's why you see things like cats with crows and so on and so forth. They are expanding their awareness of their connection to other species as a reflection of you humans expanding your awareness of connection to other beings as well. Because animals are from the angelic realm and are often used to reflect to humans on your planet and other beings on other planets what their themes are and how their consciousness is expanding and what issues you may need to work through. So, look to the animals as mirrors, as reflections of what is going on in your collective and individual consciousnesses, and you will understand them more clearly and be more capable of communication with them.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I know you're well, so I won't ask you, and I am well enough
All right.
too.
All right.
I'd like to ask your definition of style.
Style, your own unique personal way of expressing anything that has to do with your presentation in life.
Okay, I'm asking because you used that word a lot in last month's transmission when talking about how first contact would take place.
Well, what we were describing is the idea of the route it would take, the way it would look, the reason it would be done, and how that might differ in different circumstances.
I see. You talk about it being important to be the glass wall and to get at the crux of our issues, correct?
Yes, yes. Because there are usually reasons deep down that are very simple, very basic for why people choose to believe what they believe. They're trying to fulfill a basic need, and sometimes it can be done in many different ways other than the ways they are doing it, thinking that they have to use a surface idea in order to achieve what they wish to achieve, when in fact that may not be necessary at all.
What's your definition of surface idea?
In other words, holding on to or joining in with a particular belief system that this must be done in a certain way in physical reality in order to achieve X, Y, or Z, when in fact there could be many other ways to do it that might have more in common with each other than the polarized or divisive ways that many people are choosing.
Understood. So what is the most helpful or useful way to communicate with people who are unremorseful or unapologetic or even bloodthirsty or depraved due to their negative beliefs?
Well, the idea, of course, if they're willing to listen, of course, not everyone is going to be willing to listen. But for those who might be open enough to receive information and ponder it and apply it to themselves, the idea is to understand that what they think of or have been taught to think of as power is actually a sign of weakness in many cases. For example, when individuals use a gun to get their way, what they're actually saying is they don't believe that they're powerful enough to get it any other way. So that's actually a sign that they believe they are weak. If you can explain that concept to them, that forcing something to happen is actually a sign that you don't believe in your own ability and your own self-empowerment to be able to get it any other way, then they can start to understand that that is actually an expression of weakness. And then they may be able to turn that around and say, well, what is a true expression of self-empowerment? Because creativity takes power. Destruction takes almost no power at all. Anyone can destroy. It takes power to create.
Understood. So using any more force than a thing actually requires is not having a balanced understanding of that thing.
Yes, remember, the greatest power requires the gentlest touch.
Mm-hmm.
If something really has power, it requires very, very, very little manipulation.
So this is a precision game.
Yes.
I see. I'd like to ask you about an interesting theme that has begun in my dreams, or that I've begun to remember from my dreams.
All right. Yes.
As you know, I have many dreams about animals, big cats, which we talked a lot about, and regular cats. And there have been 3 cats so far in my dreams that have come that have strange names. One is named Barf. One's named Barf. One's named Tipsy. And one was named Ugly. And I was curious about what this theme is about.
The idea in general is that those words, which are kind of representative of things in your society that people find are representative of being somewhat out of control, or not having a presentation that fits, is a sign to not necessarily be so concerned about what other people think in order to truly find your inner power.
Yes, I'm working on that. You know, as you gave me the definition of power being the ability to be my authentic self.
Yes.
You told me that earlier this year.
Yes, well, the cats are helping you with that.
Okay. And, you know, of course, when we had that conversation in March or so, or whenever it was, I had, even when you told me your definition of power, I had a different idea of how embodying that would be experienced.
Yes. Well, this is why we give you all the formula, because it's inherently built in to the formula. When you act on it precisely, you are self-empowered.
Okay, that's actually a great segue, because I feel that, okay, I know you have the book. I'll buy the book. I can't afford the book right now. We're here now together, so I'm asking you directly. What you put out is what you get back. Can you explain that more?
Yes. Many people misunderstand the idea that when they attract something or someone who may have certain issues, they think it's a one-to-one reflection. That's not what we're saying. Just because someone comes into your life that may have certain issues doesn't mean you have them too. But when it's what you put out is what you get back, is the idea that you may be attracting people that need help from you, that you are able to help them. Therefore, you have put out something that attracts people you can be of help to. So it's not a one-to-one reflection idea. It's what you put out will bring you what it is you have agreed to serve, what it is you have agreed to be of assistance with. Although you can always, of course, examine yourself and be honest as to whether someone coming into your life who has issues does have issues that you have too, so that you can see that self-reflection where it is relevant. But if you realize it's not relevant, then you understand there may be a completely different reason why you have attracted them, but you have attracted them for some reason. So when we say what you put out is what you get back, that doesn't mean it's a one-to-one reflection of what they have, you have too.
Yes. And for instance, I'm of service for a living. I help people. I do readings and channelings and such. Yes. And we talked about value and worth, and I'm working through that, and I understand that to the extent that I understand that. My question is more like, if I know from the feedback that I get that what I put out is very helpful to people, then at what point does what I get back be very helpful to me, resourcefully, network-wise, opportunity-wise?
All right, well, now you're putting conditions on your passion.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes. Okay.
Yes, you are. You have to do your passion purely for its own sake. Then you will get supported by the whole, because you're supporting the whole. It may support you in ways that are unusual or unexpected. That's why it's so important in the formula to have no insistence and no assumption as to what the outcome should be. And if you have those conditions and insistences and assumptions about what you think you're supposed to get back by being of service to others, then you are not precisely following the formula.
Okay. So it's not so much a supposed to thing, but it's more like, if you've taken all the avenues that you're aware of to pursue your passions and maintaining a positive state and taking it as far as you can go, regardless of how it looks, yes. And then you're not getting feedback that seems positive, or at least neutral, right? Maybe neutral, but like positive. For instance, if we talked about me publishing books, writing books, correct?
Yes.
And I have written books. At that time, I was thinking we were talking about a fiction book that I was writing, but I've written other kinds of books.
Yes.
And for instance, I'm writing a book about the history of tarot before it reached Europe.
All right. And why are you writing that? Why are you writing it?
Because it's exciting to me to put the pieces together.
All right. Stop. That's it. Nothing else. No other reason, no other connections, no other conditions. You are writing it because it's exciting to you to write it. Write it. Do your best to get it out there. Whoever needs to receive it will receive it. Who doesn't need to receive it won't. End of story. Do it because it's your passion. There is no condition that you need to attach to doing it. Just do it because it's who you are. Put it out there because it's who you are. Move on to the next thing. Whatever the responses are what the responses need to be. You have to know that someone is getting value out of it, or you wouldn't be excited to create it.
Mhm.
And that's all there is to it, period. We do these sharings, these transmissions, with absolutely no agenda that anyone has to take what we're saying into their life. We do it because it's who we are. What you do with it is none of our business. So we don't put conditions on doing what we do. We do it because it is purely representative of our passion to give, to be of service. That's it. We have no insistence, no assumption, and no expectation about what must come back in return. That's not a reason to do it. You do it because it's who you are, and you have no choice but to do it. Period.
Okay, and with humanity, do we ever have to negotiate that with like the mass consensus agreement?
If you are excited about doing it, it's already been negotiated. Because if you can do it, the fact that you are able to do it shows you that it's already within the agreement with the mass consensus. And again, it can be within the agreement of the mass consensus, even if only one person in the mass consensus responds to it. That's still within the agreement. So don't worry about who responds, how they respond, how many respond. All of those are conditions you do not need to focus on. Just purely act on your excitement, knowing someone is getting a benefit out of it, or you wouldn't be excited to do it. Because that would make no sense. It's got to be part of the mass consensus. If you can do it, it's part of the agreement. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be excited about it. It wouldn't fit at all.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bashar, for your time.
You are welcome. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. There's two aspects of your teachings that I'm having trouble reconciling. On the one hand, I've heard you say in previous transmissions that the process of changing your beliefs is instantaneous. You know, the moment you recognize a belief that doesn't work for you is the end of the process of giving it up. And when you adopt a new belief that works for you, you instantly become a new person. But at the same time, I've heard you say in a previous transmission that the process of replacing a negative belief that assigns a negative meaning to circumstances with a positive belief that assigns positive meaning to circumstances is a gradual process. I've heard you tell an audience member that they have to repeatedly catch themselves with the negative belief and repeatedly replace it with the positive belief. And over time, they will do it much more quickly, and eventually they will adopt the positive belief. Can you clarify that for me? Thank you.
Yes. You have to understand that some of these comments are not general statements for humanity. They are specific statements for that specific human and the process they may need to go through in order to get to a point where they can allow themselves to replace a belief instantaneously. Some people need to go through certain processes in order to do so because of the kinds of beliefs they're holding on to. So when we make those statements, it's not contradictory. It is simply specific to the way a particular human needs to approach the idea of changing their belief system. Some people can do it faster. Some people need the process and may do it more slowly. So you have to take into account who it is we may actually be talking to when we're explaining how a belief can be changed.
Hi.
Good day, good day.
Good day, Bashar. How are you today?
Perfect, and you?
I'm perfect, thank you.
All right. What would you like to discuss?
Thank you. Where are you right now?
In my ship above Sedona.
How far?
No comment.
Are you going to be coming closer?
No comment.
Is it possible that I could get a tour of your ship?
In the astral form, of course. Not physically yet.
Thank you. I'm very grateful. Can we, I know we're meeting now, which is really, it's very exciting for me and I'm very grateful.
It is exciting for us as well, and you have our gratitude and appreciation.
Yeah, this is a very special moment. Is it possible we can meet in person?
Again, eventually, Possibly. We will see. You may meet some extraterrestrial, whether it is literally us, has not yet been decided. But it is possible.
I would welcome the opportunity to meet extraterrestrials that are of light and love.
All of these things have been decided in your life path. Just let them unfold.
Excellent. So this will manifest in my life path. I've seen some things on Shasta. Were they of ET origin?
Some of them are other phenomenon.
Thank you. Question, please. During a previous transmission, you had mentioned that we would be experiencing an economic contraction post-COVID. Would you be so kind just to recommend where we would put our investments during this time?
We do not do such things. We do not give that information.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Would you kindly let us know approximately when the contraction will occur and start and end?
That information is not available through this terminal.
Gotcha. Final question on this topic then. Will cryptocurrency take over as a result of the financial collapse per se, or contraction?
No. Cryptocurrency is an interim idea. You will eventually all move to a different kind of digital currency, but it is not cryptocurrency. That is a halfway measure.
And approximately when will that be?
That information is not available through this terminal, but it will be within the reset of humanity, definitely before 2050.
And at this juncture, would you say anytime between 2040 and 2050? This reset of humanity, can you explain what that means, please?
It goes from 2020 to 2050. It's a 30-year reset where humanity will be redirected in its energies and its focus and its intentions to be something more expanded and a member of the intergalactic community.
This is excellent. I very much look forward to that environment, and it brings me to my next topic. You have this beautiful, admirable ability to answer our questions with lightning fast precision and incredible accuracy. You're like a walking Wikipedia. It's fabulous. How do we get that ability?
Follow the formula.
Yeah, I had a feeling you'd say that. I do follow the formula, but I still don't seem to be a walking Wikipedia.
It depends on your intention as to how you wish to use the higher vibrational frequency that acting on your passion delivers to you. So you may have a different way of accessing that information or a different reason for using it, or using your higher frequency in a different way altogether.
So thank you. How are you able to do that then? How are you able to access this incredible wealth of information?
Remember that we are telepathically connected to many different kinds of beings, and in our evolutionary state, we are also connected very strongly to spirit. And therefore, we rely on many other beings to give us the access we need to function as a first contact specialist.
I love it. That's beautiful. And how do we tap into that? And
again, it has to be your particular choice to function that way.
So if I choose to function in a way of interacting more with higher consciousnesses, higher conscious beings, I'll have more access to this incredible wealth of information. So I can stop bothering you and asking you about these questions.
Well, there is a purpose to it in terms of the idea of delivering information to people who need it. In other words, it works better when you're actually channeling to people who are asking questions who need to hear the answer.
I'm trying to understand that. So,
in other words, if you have people who have questions that they need the answer to and are asking those questions of you, then you can go into a state where you can simply get out of the way and allow the information to come through you to them, in much the same way that electricity grounds itself by going through a circuit into the ground. So the idea is that they almost pull the information through you by needing the answers, and you're just acting as the vessel that allows that connection to occur.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
So if I were desiring to have certain information or knowledge, I could do the same for my own persona and my own person?
You can, but the idea is that without other people asking the questions, it can be a little bit more challenging because you're doing it for yourself in the sense of whether or not the timing for that information is correct for you, because now you're being of service to yourself more than being of service to others. But as you are of service to others, it will enhance you in such a way that you will get what you need as well in the timing in which it is relevant for you to have it. So you can't rush it. You have to go through the process.
I'm part Russian.
All right. Thank you for your pun.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
All right. Maybe you need to be a little bit more of Slovakian.
You can show me the way.
Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up.
Noted. I guess in final, Mary, thank you again. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. It's very special.
Yes. For us as well.
Will there be, in terms of, open contact is something that is very special, and we all look forward to this. Is there anything else we can do to facilitate that? And is there any particular ETs that you see as, I always hear the Pleiadians. I hear a lot of Pleiadian channels.
Yes. The Pleiadians will be among the first within the next 5 years, along with hybrids. Then other species will be introduced to you at whatever rate you are comfortable being introduced to them. But first it will be the ones that are more like you, so that, as you say in your society, humanity will not freak out.
Well, this is incredible. So within 5 years, open contact.
Yes.
Possibly Pleiadian.
Yes. You will start to be introduced officially to extraterrestrials within the next 5 years as we read your energy.
Wow. Certainly. Thank you. If there's anything else in closing we can do to expedite that process.
Follow the formula.
And get out of the Slovakia hemisphere.
Follow the formula.
And in closing, do you feel in my aura that I am following the formula?
Not always. Otherwise you wouldn't ask.
Hey. Thank you, Bashar. I'm very grateful.
Aveo.
Aveo.
Good day to you, Bashar. Thank you so much for taking my question. I've been doing a lot of self-studying, and a lot of it is through hypnosis. I've been able to establish that I absolutely have galactic origins and family. And as I was going through these sessions, I was able to establish a direct communication, and it disappeared. And I haven't connected since last year. With as much change in my life, I could really use communication. My question is there another way to establish this communication without hypnosis? And if there's any messages from my galactic family, can you share them with me today, please? Thank you. Aveo.
At the risk of sounding redundant, follow the formula. That is the alternative to the idea of hypnosis, although it can also include hypnosis if that is your passion. But the idea is that often you will be given a glimpse of something, a glimpse of a connection. It's about remembering what that felt like, remembering that state of being, and then coming from that state of being in everything that you do. Remember the trick. When you can remember what something felt like, you're actually in that state of being, even if it feels different, because you have to be that state of being to even have the ability to remember having been in that state of being. So that's what you need to do, is understand that when you even remember what it felt like, you're in that state of being, even if it feels different. And the reason it feels different is because you are different now than you used to be when you had that experience. So just move forward, knowing you're in that state of being by remembering what it felt like to be in that state of being, and come from that state of being in what you do in life, in acting on your passion in service to others.
Greetings, Bashar. This is Josef from Germany. I wanted to ask you if you can tell us if there is a link between the Oriental tales of jinns, including Succumba and Succubus, and the hybridization program. Thank you and goodbye.
There is a loose connection in the sense that sometimes encounters with beings in the hybridization program have been mistaken for what you call jinn or succubi, succubus, or demons, because those are labels that come from the fear level of the human mind and a lack of understanding of what it is they're actually experiencing. So sometimes humans have projected those identities on encounters they have had with spirits or other dimensional beings or extraterrestrials when there is a lack of understanding of what is actually happening. So that's the connection, is simply the idea of labeling things that way that you don't understand out of fear.
Hello, Bashar. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. My question is about enlightenment. As I understand, in many spiritual traditions in the East, like Advaita and Hinduism, the highest goal of human life is enlightenment. And one of ways how to understand this enlightenment is union with God, or realization that there's only one and I am that, the Atman is Brahman. And so to get this understanding and get this as a living experience, not just intellectual understanding. So this is highest goal of human life. So, but as I hearing you and I'm hearing different channels, I hear that you are already in that state. You are already have this realization. So according to our understanding, you are already enlightened. And this doesn't seem that being end of your life. So can you please clarify about this enlightenment thing? Thank you. Thank you so much.
There is always more to experience. There is always more to learn. What you're referring to as enlightenment is a certain stage within a certain experience. But there are other kinds of experiences that can take you even further. So the idea is that you're talking about a kind of awareness, a kind of awakening, a kind of enlightenment that is germane for a particular kind of experience. Other kinds of experiences in other dimensions of reality have a different way of experiencing the idea of awakening and enlightenment and the experiences that go with that.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of exciting questions from our viewers today.
Right.
Now, the first question is, in this transmission, you're describing the idea of other realities bleeding through into the one we are in. Can you point out some of the strongest reality bleed-through events that we would recognize from modern history?
Not so much historic events that we will call out, but the idea of certain experiences, like déjà vu, can be the result of bleed-through from other realities that may be experiencing something similar to what you are experiencing in your timeline, but maybe ahead of your timeline, the event already having happened. And therefore, when you pick up on the idea that the event has already happened in another timeline, when your consciousness is expanded enough to do so, and become sensitive to receiving that information that has happened in the other parallel timeline, and you, in your reality, finally arrive at that moment, then you have a sense that it has happened before, that you know what's going to happen. So that's one way in which the idea of bleed-throughs can express themselves in your timeline, through the idea of déjà vu.
Okay. How different are the parallel Earth realities where Christmas was never celebrated in the Western world? Is there another holiday that generally replaced it? And are they farther from open contact than we are, or do they have a variation of it?
You are speaking as if there are only a few realities that experience things in different ways. There are a large number of realities that have different experiences along the subject that you're asking about. So when you say, are they closer to contact than we are, some of them are, some of them are not. Some of the major changes in terms of what you experience as your Christmas holidays in some versions of Earth are experienced simply as winter solstice day, and may be more representative of some of the original ideas that you experienced on Earth before it became known as the idea of Christmas. When the winter spirit in certain cultures was acknowledged, celebrated, and was the one delivering the idea of gifts, so on and so forth, such as beings that one culture on your planet refers to as Kernanos, instead of the idea of Santa Claus. So again, there are many different versions of Earth that experience holidays in many different ways. Some of them are very similar to yours. Some of them are not like yours at all.
Okay. You have said that our nuclear weapons might disturb other realities because too much energy can punch holes into other realities. If that is the case, then what exactly is happening within our sun? Soul, our sun, must be punching holes into other realities because of the intense energy within it. What does this look like in the other realities, and is there bleed through from other realities into our sun?
Yes, stars, being a natural phenomenon, fit in a balanced way within the universe. They do represent portals and doorways into different realities, but again, since it is all created naturally as part of the structure of the universe, it is not out of balance. It does not cause negative repercussions, even though it may tunnel into different timelines and different realities, and stars in one reality may appear very differently in another reality. The idea of nuclear war, nuclear detonations, is not, in that sense, a natural phenomenon, and therefore can be disruptive by being an expression of a large release of energy in an unnatural, unbalanced way that doesn't fit into the idea of the natural structure of existence. And that is why it is something to be avoided.
Okay, this person is saying that they can no longer depend on fingerprint ID on electronics because once they set it up, it only lasts for a short while, sometimes just a few hours. Is that a function of their shifting realities, or is it just a mundane technical problem?
It can sometimes be a technical issue, but the idea is that when people start accelerating their vibration, they can interfere with electronic devices in many different ways. So it can be a sign that you are broadening your bandwidth and that the vibration you're giving off may not necessarily always be vibrationally compatible with some of the electronic devices that you use.
And how exactly do you switch timelines? Can it feel seamless and easy? How will I know that I switched timelines? Can I ask for an obvious sign like a new freckle that I didn't have before?
Sometimes there are physical manifestations of having made a switch, but again, remember, you are switching all the time. So yes, it is usually seamless. You don't even know you're doing it. When it is necessary for you to recognize that you have shifted into a parallel reality, again, you're doing this billions of times per second, but when it becomes necessary for you to recognize that you're doing it, when it is something that you need to experience as not being seamless, when you notice the shift, it can happen in many different ways. You can just get a feeling, an energy surge. You might see something different on your body that you didn't notice before. You might see things differently in your surrounding reality that you didn't notice before. You might see things appearing that weren't there a moment ago or disappearing that were there a moment ago. There can be many different ways in which you can recognize you have shifted. It just depends on the person and what is relevant for your life path. But remember that you're shifting all the time. It is usually seamless. It is not something you necessarily have to pay attention to. It is something that happens automatically as you guide yourself by making your choices, and then that determines and controls exactly how you're shifting. That's why, again, we give you the formula, because it is a very precise navigational tool that will allow you to navigate through the shifting into different parallel realities in a way that works to your advantage, that is relevant for the experience in a positive way of what you laid out in your life path.
And is it possible to move from one reality to the next without having the death experience? This individual says,
you're shifting all the time. So you are moving from one reality to another in a sense without the idea of experiencing death. So yes, it's possible. But again, the idea of death is something a little bit different, because you're waking back up into yourself as a soul, as a spirit, and it serves a different function. It serves a different purpose. It gives you the opportunity to make choices on a different level.
okay, and this next question is, why must we humans shift to a certain vibration if there exists an intelligent universe and higher beings that are able to translate our intentions and wishes? Why is it so complicated to shift to a reality we prefer?
It is all about the process of learning how to do that by going through the process. That's why you chose to have a physical experience, so that you challenge yourself in a different way than you challenge yourself in spirit. And by challenging yourself through the idea of the experience of physical processes, you gain knowledge and insight and lessons and growth in a different way than you would in spirit. The idea that there may be other beings that exist on higher levels has nothing at all to do with the choices you have made for what you will experience in your particular life path. They may assist you, you may have a team behind you, but they will only be able to assist you on the life path that you all agreed you would experience, and the processes you agreed that you would go through, because your soul determined that that's what you needed for your particular kind of growth that you preferred. So you are